Welcome back to the Middle Eight Football Podcast, the fastest 8 minutes in sports. I'm your host, Joe Burks. Let's jump right into Week 4 NFL action. But before we do, let's go over a new segment we have. That's the MVP ladder, ranking players I think are in contention to win the NFL MVP award for the 2025 NFL season. Starting off, we have Josh Allen, who's played some nearly flawless football through 4 weeks, followed by Justin Herbert. He's been fantastic. Can't discount what he's done the entire season just because of one mediocre game against a pretty good defense with the Giants. Matthew Stafford there as well, who's had some great games through the air. Jonathan Taylor and Puka Nacua are next in that order. Two guys I think are going to be mostly competing for the Offensive Player of the Year award, but I would feel weird not putting them here in the MVP ladder based off the seasons they've had statistically so far, which have just been unreal. And then six, our honorable mention is Dak Prescott, who's put up some really solid stat lines, especially this past week. A game we're going to get into later in the show. But that is our MVP ladder, our top six players in contention for the NFL MVP. Let me know what you think of my rankings so far. Obviously, they will change the rest of the season, but let's jump right into the games for this week. Minnesota versus Pittsburgh, the early start game in Dublin, Ireland. I know this game killed a ton of fantasy managers with Jaylen Warren being a late scratch because of an injury. Like me, a lot of people forgot that the game was happening in the morning. But a great game from Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. Addison came back from that 3-game suspension, and the two combined for 240 receiving yards. Steelers came out with the win. Aaron Rodgers was pretty solid, and a good game from DK Metcalf at wide receiver with that 80-yard touchdown, and Kenny Gainwell filling in for Jaylen Warren at running back. Next, we have Tennessee versus Houston. Just a blowout game, not a ton to talk about here. The Texans played a really bad team, but really figured things out offensively for the first time this season, it looked like. Stroud had time to hit those passes all over the field. Looked more able, really. Woody Marks, rookie running back for the Texans guy, I really like coming into this draft cycle out of USC. He could be the new face of this running game. I predicted before the season he would have a role, and he's doing exactly that. Philadelphia versus Tampa Bay, a really exciting game. Tampa Bay always makes things interesting, but they do come away with their first loss this season against maybe one of the best teams in the NFL in Philly. This was a tale of two halves. Philly dominated the first two quarters, including a block punt return for a touchdown. But Jalen Hurts, quarterback for the Eagles, was on point in the first half. He was kind of most of their offense, really. But in the second half, the Philadelphia offense completely stalled out. Baker Mayfield had a pair of very deep touchdown passes. The Bucs were down 24-6 at halftime, but they managed to make this game. Baker played fairly well. Running back Buggy Irving and rookie wide receiver Emeka Egbuka had a pair of really deep touchdowns. But overall, we'll look for a bit more of offensive consistency for the Eagles heading forward, or else they're going to be in trouble. Giants versus Chargers, a really consequential game for a few reasons. Giants come away with the upset win, and Jackson Dart's the rookie quarterback first career start. But at what cost? Superstar second-year wide receiver Malik Neighbors, one of the best receivers in the entire NFL, is confirmed to have torn his ACL yesterday in the win. So just out for the entire season. Just a brutal turn of events for the Giants. Moving on to the Chargers for just a second before we go back to the Giants. Rookie running back Marion Hampton has really found his stride the last couple weeks. 10.7 yards per carry, which is amazing. 128 rushing yards and 12 carries. Justin Herbert was fine, but two turnovers didn't help. Jackson Dart, first career start, played a decent enough game to win. 13 for 20 through the air, 111 passing yards and a touchdown through the air, as well as 54 rushing yards and a touchdown on the ground. And like I said before, the Giants defense looks very good. We can move into Carolina versus New England. An unbelievable blowout. I mean, Patriots won 42-13. And if you look at the last 2 weeks of scores for the Carolina Panthers, shut out the Falcons and won 30-0 in a blowout shutout win, and then get manhandled 42-13 by the Patriots. There needs to be some consistency established in Carolina, it's obvious. But the Panthers' offense falls flat, and their defense played poorly as well. But Drake May, quarterback for the Patriots, once again plays a great game of football, and he is coming along really well in his development. I think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback in no time. Buffalo versus New Orleans. Buffalo comes away with the win. New Orleans made the game for a while, which is pretty impressive. But Spencer Rattler won this quarterback job going into the year. He played pretty well against a pretty stout Buffalo defense. I was extremely impressed by his poise, by his accuracy, and he could be the starting quarterback for the rest of the season. Josh Allen was great once again, 3 total touchdowns, and James Cook, running back for the Bills, 3 straight games of 100-plus rushing yards. He also has 5 touchdowns so far this season, at least 1 touchdown in every single game. Bills are doing what we thought they would do. They're amazing. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to be Super Bowl contenders. Cleveland versus Detroit. I'll be honest, I forgot this game happened. So much so I forgot to put it in my notes until just a couple minutes ago. But Amon-Ra St. Brown already has 6 touchdowns on the season. Had 70 yards and 2 touchdowns against a pretty good Browns defense. Joe Flacco, I think it may be time to test out another quarterback, maybe Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders, one of their 2 rookies. Overall, Lions performed at their standard, win 34-10. No surprises there. Atlanta versus Washington. Atlanta comes out with the win, bouncing back from that devastating 30-0 loss against the Jaden Daniels-less and Terry McLaurin-less Commanders. They were down a few offensive starters, and I was impressed with the Commanders' ability to stay in the game despite missing their 2 superstars. Nonetheless, the Falcons' offense was too much for this Commanders' defense to handle. Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, the 3 main weapons on this team that they've developed over the last couple of years, all scored touchdowns. And I was impressed with Penix, over 300 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, but he needs to be more consistent. We have Jacksonville versus San Francisco, one of the craziest moments of the week. Head coach Liam Cohen for the Jags and defensive coordinator for the 49ers, Robert Saleh, after the game got into it over some comments Robert Saleh made during the week in his press conference about the Jags. So he's alleging that they have a system that works, that they're able to steal play calls from other teams, that I guess is completely legal. But nonetheless, Jags get the win here. Never really felt in doubt. This Jags defense looked fantastic. The secondary looked good. The pass rush was getting home consistently. Didn't get a ton of sacks, but they were putting pressure. But nonetheless, I still don't trust Trevor Lawrence to be the franchise quarterback for this team just yet. I need to see more consistency out of him. But the Jags rushing attack looked great again. Travis Etienne had 124 yards on the ground. Next up, we have Indianapolis versus the Los Angeles Rams. A really great game. Came down to the wire, at least towards the end. Some big highlights to go over. A.D. Mitchell, second-year wide receiver for the Colts. He needs to get it together. He had a holding penalty on what would have been like a 50-yard touchdown for Jonathan Taylor that may have sealed the game for the Colts. And then he had a 70-yard touchdown, an amazing catch and run, but dropped the ball right before hitting the goal line because he was celebrating, runs out of the end zone, Colts lose possession, they don't get the score. Maybe the Colts could have put it away, but just a stupid boneheaded play from A.D. Mitchell. Really just takes the game away. The Rams look elite on offense. Stafford had 375 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Puka Nacua, leading receiver in the NFL, has been fantastic. 13 receptions, 170 receiving yards, and a touchdown as well. And the Rams' defensive front, as always, looks very, very good. I'll be looking for Indianapolis to bounce back next week as a Colts fan. We have Las Vegas versus Chicago, and this was kind of a competition to see which offense could fail harder. It seemed like for a while. For the Raiders, it was Ashton Jeanty. Really got his feet under him and was this team's whole offense, really. He had 21 carries for 138 rushing yards, including a huge rushing touchdown, and 3 total touchdowns. The Bears were able to pick up some touchdowns in the second half to ultimately take the lead in this game and blocked the game-winning field goal attempt from the Raiders. The note I do have for them is that they need, I think, to trade for a running back or give Kyle Monungai, their 7th-round rookie, more carries. Going back to the Raiders, Geno Smith, however, the quarterback, was very bad, costing the game with 3 interceptions. I'm also impressed they were still in the game. Baltimore versus Kansas City, one of the most unexpected blowouts of the week. Kansas City picks up the win 37-20, but it never even felt that close, even though that isn't close. The Ravens look lifeless. Countless injuries on the defensive side of the ball, turnovers on offense. They're supposed to be Super Bowl contenders. That was the expectation coming into the season, and they have not performed even close to that. Mahomes, on the other hand, for the Chiefs, played fantastic. 270 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. This is one of their best offensive performances of the past couple years. Very optimistic for the Chiefs heading forward. Finally, our last game, Dallas versus Green Bay, somehow ended in a 40-40 tie. The defenses were non-existent in this game. Dak Prescott and Jordan Love, just an elite quarterback battle. Dak, 77.5 completion percentage, 390 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Love, 72.1 completion percentage, 337 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Basically identical stat lines. The game went into overtime, which is crazy in and of itself. It looked like the Cowboys were going to score. Dak Prescott was about to run in for the touchdown, and guess who sacked him to save the possession, forced the Cowboys to take a field goal? It was Micah Parsons, who they traded away right before the season. The Packers able to drive down, get a field goal of their own after almost wasting the entire clock in the last play trying to get a touchdown. For the Monday night games, I'm picking the Dolphins to beat the Jets 21-17. I'll pick the Broncos over the Bengals 30-17. And then for Thursday night, give me the Rams over the 49ers 28-20. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Go ahead and follow for more. I'll see you guys in the next one.